Philippine Navy officials on a visit to Japan have inspected a maritime self-defense force destroyer escort.
A direct transfer. That phrase alone carries weight. Japan is not just helping the Philippines with training or small equipment. It is handing over an Abukuma-Class destroyer escort, a warship that once sailed on the front lines of the Cold War. This is no ordinary gesture. It is the very first time Japan has placed a major combat vessel directly into Philippine hands. A move that speaks of trust, of alliance, and of the rising tension in the West Philippine Sea. But what does this transfer really mean? Why would Japan part with a ship that still carries firepower? And how will it transform the way the Philippines defends its waters against constant encroachment? Stay with me until the end, because the answers will take us through history, modernization, and the hard reality of facing a powerful neighbor in the region. To understand the significance of the Abukuma, we need to look back. The Philippine Navy has long relied on the generosity of its allies. In the post-World War II years, the United States became the first and primary source of second-hand warships. Fletcher-class destroyers, Cannon-class destroyer escorts, and later Hamilton-class cutters were handed down from American service to the Philippines. For decades, this pattern defined the Navy. Older vessels, refurbished and repainted, becoming the backbone of Philippine maritime defense. These ships were not the newest, but they gave the archipelago a fighting chance at sea. Then, Japan entered the picture. In 2013, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force retired its fleet of Hakuyo-class patrol vessels. Some of those hulls eventually went to Southeast Asian nations, while Tokyo focused on giving the Philippines smaller equipment, training aircraft, surveillance systems, and Coast Guard vessels. By 2018, Manila received 10 90-meter Parola-class patrol vessels, built in Japan and funded by Japanese loans. They were not warships in the destroyer's sense, but they marked a turning point. Japan was beginning to arm the Philippines with tools for maritime sovereignty. Now, in 2025, the game has changed. No longer just small patrol ships. No longer just civilian Coast Guard transfers. For the first time, Japan has agreed to give a frontline destroyer escort, the Abukuma-Class. The Abukuma-Class is not just another patrol ship. Launched in the late 1980s, these vessels were designed as destroyer escorts, intended to protect Japanese task forces from submarines. They displace over 2,000 tons, carry advanced sonar, and were originally armed with torpedoes, anti-ship missiles, and a 76mm main gun. For Japan, they were the silent guardians of the Cold War seas. For the Philippines, one such ship represents a massive leap in naval capability. The Abukuma is larger, more powerful, and more combat-oriented than anything currently in Philippine service except the Jose Rizal-class frigates. It can hunt submarines, escort convoys, and stand its ground in contested waters. And it comes not through a purchase or a loan, but through a direct transfer. Direct transfer means no long negotiations, no complex financing, no years of waiting for construction. It means Japan is confident enough to give the ship as is, complete with the basic systems it carried in service. For Manila, this saves billions. A brand new warship of this size would cost anywhere between 30 to 40 billion pesos, or more than $500 million. By comparison, a direct transfer comes at only the cost of refurbishment, crew training, and logistics. That alone may be less than 3 to 5 billion pesos, depending on upgrades. But beyond money, direct transfer means trust. Japan is signaling that it sees the Philippines not just as a partner, but as a frontline ally in the defense of the region. So how did this happen? For years, discussions between Tokyo and Manila centered around patrol vessels and Coast Guard aid. But the growing presence of Chinese vessels in the West Philippine Sea, coupled with harassment of Philippine resupply missions to Ayungin Shoal, accelerated the urgency. Japan itself has been reshaping its defense policy. The revision of its security laws allowed the self-defense forces to provide more robust support to allies. By 2024, reports hinted at Japan considering direct ship transfers to nations like the Philippines and Vietnam. In August 2025, confirmation arrived. Japan would indeed hand over one Abukuma-Class destroyer escort to Manila. The deal bypassed traditional procurement hurdles, symbolizing an extraordinary level of cooperation. For the Philippines, this was nothing short of historic. The Philippine Navy has been pursuing a long-term modernization program under Horizon 3. The goals are clear: to build a credible defense force, capable of deterring aggression and maintaining sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea. This means acquiring modern frigates, submarines, offshore patrol vessels, and missile systems. But the timelines are long and the budgets are tight. New frigates from South Korea or Japan will take years to build. Submarines may not arrive until the late 2020s. The Abukuma-Class transfer fills a critical gap. It provides an immediate boost in capability. It gives the Navy a warship that can escort convoys, guard sea lanes, and participate in joint exercises. While not brand new, it gives crews vital experience in handling destroyer-sized vessels, a stepping stone toward the more advanced ships that will come later. Another key advantage is doctrine. The Abukuma is not just a ship, it is a training platform. Operating it requires new procedures, coordination, and tactics. The Navy will need to integrate sonar operations, anti-submarine drills, and missile escort tactics. This experience will feed directly into Joint Force Doctrine. It will help the Navy work more closely with the Air Force and Army in combined defense scenarios. Imagine the Abukuma escorting supply lines while Fa-50 fighter jets provide air cover and shore-based missile batteries secure coastal defense. Step by step, the armed forces of the Philippines becomes a more integrated fighting force. And this is where the stakes rise. The Abukuma will not be stationed in calm waters. It will sail into contested seas, where Chinese Coast Guard and militia vessels routinely shadow Philippine patrols. For Beijing, the presence of a Japanese-built warship under the Philippine flag sends a sharp message. It signals that Manila is no longer alone, and that Japan is willing to strengthen Philippine defense directly. This changes the balance of deterrence. While one destroyer escort cannot outmatch China's fleet, it raises the risks of escalation for any Chinese vessel that might think of harassing Philippine ships. It also provides Manila with a valuable tool in asserting sovereignty, a warship that carries history, trust, and credibility. At its core, this transfer is about sovereignty. For decades, the Philippines has struggled to maintain control over its vast archipelagic waters. Limited budgets and aging ships left gaps that others exploited. Now, with Japan stepping forward, those gaps begin to close. The Abukuma is more than steel and weapons. It is a symbol of a rising network of democracies in Asia, a coalition determined to resist coercion and preserve freedom of navigation. For Manila, it proves that modernization is not only about buying expensive ships, but about forging partnerships that deliver real capability. So what does this all mean? The direct transfer of an Abukuma-Class destroyer escort is more than a gift. It is a turning point in Philippine defense. It saves billions in procurement. It accelerates training and doctrine. It signals Japan's trust and commitment. And it strengthens deterrence at a time when Chinese pressure is at its peak. It is also a reminder: the Philippines cannot stand still. The Abukuma is a bridge, not the destination. It must be used to train sailors, refine tactics, and prepare for the day when newer, more advanced warships join the fleet. But today, the message is clear: the Philippine Navy is not alone. With allies like Japan, it is beginning to transform into the credible force the nation has long needed. A direct transfer has changed the game. And in the contested waters of the West Philippine Sea, every step toward strength makes a difference.